Hello, Rosy Hardy Gardening here. Today the video is going to be my 5 top taller grasses, and we will just go through them and explain where they want to go. We're going to start off with the shortest of the ones that I've got here, but which has beautiful flower heads, seed heads, and this is a good old variety. This is Pennisetum and Pennisetum alopecuroides Hameln, and you get these beautiful fluffy seed heads on this. So when you allow the plant to have its full structure and looking really good, it's got a good strong grass blade at the base that goes to around about 45 centimetres high. From that clump you then get these amazing heads coming up, and they look like bottle brushes just at the top. They've got a slight brown purple tint to them when you look really close in on the heads, and it's difficult to show it because they're really fine hairs that are off this, and they're just a slightly purple colour, which gives you an overall coloration on this plant itself. Now it'll have some of its heads really tall, it'll have some of them smaller, so the plant has interest right the way through. It is very definitely a clump forming type of grass, and it is a late season grass. So any of these late season grasses are ones that you would divide in the spring. This will go in sun or part shade, very elegant. With the actual flower heads, you're going to be talking somewhere between 75 to 90 centimetres in height. So a really useful plant, and it will take most soil types. So that is Pennisetum alopecuroides Hameln. If you're wanting a grass which has perhaps got a little bit more elegance and you don't have as much interference with the grass blades, then something like this, the actual Molinia Heidebraut. Now Molinia Heidebraut is one of the moor grasses, and the moor grasses prefer slightly moister soils, so you do remember that they won't go in really dry, but you do get these lovely elegant stems going right up to this seed head, which is very typical of a grass. It's very much a grass seed head here, but long slender stems and then the seed at the top. So this is actually a transparent bit, so you could actually put this at the front of a border, and then you can look through to things behind, because the actual leaf base here is only to 45 centimetres, and then the flower stems go up to at least 90 centimetres above that. It is a clumper again, just slowly making a bigger clump. So moister soil, sun to part shade, and it's a really useful middle to front of the border perennial, or you can container grow this one as well. This is Calamagrostis Karl Foerster, and as you can see right at the top here, its flower heads have gone over, because this is an early into flower grass. So this was in flower June, July, and then once they have finished, they go this amazing buff colour and still look really good. And then as you gradually come down, you can see that the actual leaf of this plant is way up here at around about 90 centimetres, coming all the way down to the base. And when you get to the base, you can see that the flowering bit and the growing bit of the plant was here this year, and then next year it's going to be coming from all of this. So it is going to make a large clump. This is not a plant for the smaller garden, because it is going to make a really good big plant by spreading out sideways. Not that it's going to be a nuisance, because it stays quite tight within its clump, but it does spread. So after about 3 years, you'd expect this to be at least 60 centimetres across. You've got 90 centimetres of actual grass blade, and then you've got right the way up to somewhere around about 1 metre 70, 1 metre 75 with the seed heads. If I put it here, yes, 1 metre, almost 2 metres actually. And so it is a really good, elegant grass, really excellent form, strong growing, sun to part shade, any soil type. not really a good grass for growing in a container because it gets so big and clumpy, unless you just want to do it for 1 year and then you put it out into the garden. Because this was flowering earlier, you can split this form in the autumn. You can also take this right down to the base in the autumn, or you can leave it up there and then cut it down a little bit later. Then we have Panicum. Now Panicum grow in a different way again to a lot of the others. Its grass leaf goes all the way to the actual flowering stems. This one is Panicum heavy metal, and it comes up with really lovely pale green leaf to start off with. Then that can go slightly yellowy, then it can go metallic-y blue, then it can go slightly purple. This particular plant has been grown in a shadier spot, perfectly happy, but you don't get as much of the purple leaf on it if it is slightly shadier. So if you put it slightly sunnier, you'll get more of a leaf coloration on it. But what you do get are these amazing soft flower heads at the top here, but you can see that the leaf blades go right the way up as well. Now this is another one which is going to spread slowly sideways. It's not as fast as the Calamagrostis, but it does make a decent clump, and it's a really, really good form. This is divisible, and you would divide this in the spring because it is flowering now. So late season grasses you're splitting in the spring, ones that flower earlier you are splitting in the autumn. This last one is Miscanthus sinensis Malepartus, and as you can see, it's way up there. This one will get to around about 2 meters at least, and it is a really, really good, strong, clump forming perennial. But just drop it down here and you can see against the height of me, you can also see probably how beautifully burgundy coloured the plumes are on this actual grass. This is quite an old breeding of Miscanthus sinensis, and the colour of the actual stems and the type of the plume are now used as a gauge for any of the new ones that are bred in the recent years. So this is the standard from which all new ones are named and thought of to be any difference at all. With all of the Miscanthus sinensis, you will get a beautiful white midrib down the grass, and the grass itself or the blades themselves will go somewhere around about 1 meter high. Then you get the plumes above. Now these are late season again, so you're talking about a plant that will be divided in the spring. This is something you can leave over winter and just leave it there, and it will look fantastic. And at around about end of February, it's collapsing itself and you can take it down quite low. If you leave it until about March or April, you can find that the new growth here has got a little bit taller. It is always better to cut these old dead stems and any of the grass off to around about the 15 centimetre height. If you go and cut it off at around about the 30 centimetre height, it looks awful in the garden for a long period of time. So try and remember to get it earlier and cut it down to that height, and then you get the beautiful new grass coming up and you're not looking at horrible dead old sticks at the base of the plant. Really, really brilliant plant, very, very good, holds itself up well. The Miscanthus you can cut down. The Panicum will die down itself and then you can cut off the old growth. The Calamagrostis you can cut down, but it will also die back down. The Molinia, you will see that going back and you can cut that one down. And the Pennisetum you can leave, and again, it can be cut down to quite low. So very easy to look after. Thank you very much for listening, and please do subscribe to the channel.